Should I munch this apple for an ASMR thing in the mic? You don't want juice on the mic, that's for sure. I don't think.
No, but I think we should have a segment where you make an ASMR video eating an apple.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic. Missana. And today, I want to introduce the first Mom Sauce ASMR segment.
Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, bro. But wow, that was a big bite.
What episode is it this week? It's 7.
This is episode 7. Today we have actually our first Zoom interview.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I am on a very small group of comics in Toronto, across Canada really, who are repped by Comedy Records and been around for, he was saying, about 13 years now, which is insane.
That's amazing. This is the only comedy label in Canada.
Now there are more,
Okay.
but he was one of the first, from my understanding. And honestly, you know, it was really good to talk to him. I would have rather have done it in person, but we got to do the Zoom thing. But so many of my like early comedy memories are doing like these like East Coast tours across Canada with Comedy Records.
That's how you learn. That's where you're learning the most. You're getting the most like pivotal times. Those times are the best years. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel like it then, but then you look back in there and you're like, man, I want that back. I love that time.
And that's the thing, you know. Like I was talking with Barry, you know, about that, where we were both talking about, because Barry used to do stand up and he's now just full on manager. And I asked him, I'm like, do you ever miss stand-up? And he's like, he misses hanging out at the back of the room with friends, shooting the shit, watching your friend bomb.
Not the feeling when you tell a joke and everyone laughs.
Yeah, no. No, because it is like, there is like a thing about that time. And I don't know if it's the same in music or other industries, but because in stand-up, you're by yourself.
Oh, the hang is very real. I know exactly what you mean.
Like you're by yourself on stage, but you're always in like, ideally a group of friends while you're going to show. And I all the time think about, I was like, man, going back to that time where like I had no care in the world pretty much and just running from show to show.
That was the best.
And that was the thing. That's where I met Barry, and I remember I kind of ended the interview with him saying this, where before he started Comedy Records, I knew that he has a background in music. He was working on a popular radio station in Toronto, and he's always been in music. And I knew that he was, I don't even know how or why I approached him with it, but I was listening to, I think it was 36 Chambers, and there's like a sketch about, I don't know if it was like
just sew your asshole closed and keep feeding you and feeding you.
Yeah, like, look, Barry, we gotta really step up our game here. No, but I don't know if it was 36 Chambers, but there was that sketch where they're on the radio, and I don't know who was talking, but essentially they were saying who each member was and what their role was in Wu-Tang.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And then he was
I
like,
love that record.
At the end, we formed like Voltron.
Yeah, man.
And I remember talking to Barry, I was like, man, we need a comedy version of this. We need a comedy version of a bunch of people who have skills in different areas And when we come together, we form like Voltron.
We talked about this before with like having a crew or a troupe or whatever you want to call it. Like some of the coolest ones, like their stories aren't with the Letterkenny guys, like all this circle of comedians that kind of are popping out of Toronto right now. Steph, K-Trev, all the homies, you see it happening, right? That's a good sentiment you're making there, because it's valuable. That's a valuable thing to get in a part of a crew. I've been in a couple in New York City that you worked for a while, then fizzled out, worked for a while, then fizzled out. There's no other feeling like that than a bunch of like-minded individuals that their egos they're allowing them to put the work forward. And no one's bigger than the work. No one's bigger than the laughs, than the music. I miss that. Once you get older, it becomes a little bit more like cutthroat and who's going to get what and do what.
And it's funny because like what you said, I think is the biggest problem with comedians is the ego.
Yeah.
Because you have the Wu-Tang, grew up in the slums of Shaolin. And they all understand how to work together.
Mm-hmm.
Where you have some comedian who grew up very fine, no problems,
without a doubt,
has an ego to be like, I'm going to do all this by myself. And this is why comics stand-up specifically it really blows my mind, because the prototype of a musician, of a group, elevates you so much more, and comics do not like to work together. Now, where it started to happen, obviously we've talked about the podcast era. Joe Rogan started that teeter-totter thing.
You're seeing a lot of comedians that normally would do their own thing join up together and have even if they're two different, Bobby Lee, Andrew Santino, two very different people.
Yeah.
Tom Segura and Burt Kreischer, two very different people. Like,
this never happened in stand-up, and it really has been the digital social media era, because I remember I knew a guy, I don't even know, like, I kind of knew him. He's like a family friend. He had a very popular Instagram account, and my dad was like, oh, this guy has this account, blah, blah, blah. He knew that I was doing stand-up, and I remember one thing that he told me, and it's something that I think we've talked about, and I've never heard it at this time when he told me, was the only way you're going to grow is by collaborating with people, and then you want to collaborate with people who have a similar following numbers-wise to you. So if I didn't know you, and we both had, let's say, 3,000-4,000 on Instagram, I'd be like, hey, man, let's do some videos together, and then ideally, I get some of your followers, you get some of mine. And then once the numbers grow, you now go to the next level, and you're like at 7,000 now, and you keep, and this is what influencers do. And comedians started doing that because there's a lot of guys out of Toronto and in general.
Man, it goes back to what you're saying though. You have to drop the ego if you're going to recognize what you need to get to the next step. And most of the time, to get to the next step, you got to hang out with these cats that are just simply better than you at what you do.
That's it.
So if you are uncomfortable with being the worst in the room, get the fuck out of the room.
It blows my mind how many people I've known for a long time and was completely unaware of the ego that they had.
Oh man,
like ego is such a funny, weird thing. And there's a difference of being confident.
I was just going to say.
And an ego.
The thing about the ego, too, that people like to forget is that it works both ways. Like, people can have an ego and be pompous and arrogant about themselves, but their ego can also drag them down.
Yeah.
It can also make them very sad and depressed and emotional and not want to be worked with because they're arrogant or pompous, but because they're a drag, because they're not fun, because they're negative. They're not cool to be around, even if they are really fucking good at what they do. It doesn't matter. The ego is a maker or breaker in our business. I'm convinced of it.
And we're past that time of like, sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
Now it's like nerds, books.
Can we hang out in a room for 12 hours and work?
Nerds,
you know
books,
what I mean?
and chill. You know, where it's like, hey man, if you're too much, I don't want to be around you.
Exactly.
I don't need this.
I don't even want you to be too excited. Like
no,
that.
It's like we all need to keep it at like a simmer, a light boil.
You're fucking right.
And it's the same thing. Like look at comics, for example. Like if you look at probably any comic up to like the mid 90s to early 2000s, they were insane people.
Dude, it's a simple experiment, or however you want to do it. look back on your life. I do this all the time. Any cool gig I've ever got was because I surrounded myself with people that are better than me.
Yeah.
And I like humbly made a relationship. Any cool gig that I've lost is because I've done something that people don't want to be near me anymore.
Yeah.
Whether it's just my personality because it rubs them the wrong way. Maybe I'm too excited about something. That's my MO. I'm too excited about stuff and I put too much too much into it. And it's like, dude, chill the fuck out. You know, like we've talked about that on this podcast before. It just sucks when rappers aren't stoked about you. It's like that whole thing will bust your ego immediately. Like who can be the coolest cucumber in the room is the goal, right? And as soon as you come in being like, I got this cool idea for this, I think we should take the music here, I have brought this instrument, I brought this, blah blah blah, it's like, slow down, kid. Like, Jesus.
I got two things to say to that. One is, and I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast or just in general, and I told you I think about that Bernie Mac set.
Oh man.
Okay, so the Bernie Mac set is something that I think about quite a lot. Where
I love I Ain't Scared of You Motherfucker set. I love that set,
I think it was at the Apollo or somewhere in Harlem. I don't know where it was. But you look at the energy that the audience is giving him, and he did not change like an ounce of his energy. And if you think about how insane that is, to be like, you have thousands of tons of screams and energy coming at you, and you just stand there being like, I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Kick it!
Yeah, and like
the music,
and then they just kept going crazier and crazier and crazier.
So good.
And that's why, like, as a comic, I look at, like, as a person, it's like you're either going to be a laser beam, which is what he was during that set, where a laser beam took all the light in and put this fine tune light out, or a spotlight. I use this in a comedy analogy where it's like you're gonna light the whole stage up, you're gonna be bright, you're gonna be all over the stage, but you're just gonna be bright, you know? Like, and there's a lot of comics that do that. They're not fine laser beams.
Man, I really love that you're saying that, because this is part of this new venture that we started out that makes me the most insecure, or gets my ego move in either direction. I hate hearing myself speak, and I've showed a couple episodes to my dad or like people I care about, and they're like, dude, you seem supernatural. Or my dad's like, you say literally too much.
Oh,
the fuck is that? You say too much. What the fuck? What is that? Like,
I say like literally.
And then he said something more specific, which really I had to think about this for an hour. He goes, it sounds dumb when you use too many superlatives. And I was like, what are you talking about? And now what I think is superlative.
A superlative?
Yeah, so I thought I've
never even heard this word before.
So I thought it was something else when he said it. He goes, you use words like about people that would make them feel uncomfortable. Like you call someone a legend. Or you say master, this is master, or like or whatever of that thing. And he goes, you don't need to do that. Like it sounds like you're over exaggerating, for the sake of just using the word legend. He's like, this is someone who does what they do. They're good at it, and you're here to tell the people about it. Like that's it. And you know what? I didn't think about it. Every one of those episodes, I'm like, legend comedian Mark DeBonis from Toronto.
Oh yeah.
And they would pan over your face, and you're like, what? Like, and it's not bad. It's cute, for lack of a better way to explain it. But it's also like there are different ways to explain things, and really, people they're attracted to you and vulnerability. They want to feel like they can know you, and a lot of that stuff is surface value nonsense. It just gets used to like excite someone into looking at what you're doing, and really what's going to make people watch is just us being ourselves and trying to wholeheartedly provide information that we think is cool too.
And I think that's what it's all about, really, is just being ourself and not trying to be something that we're not, and just. And I've said it to you before, we don't even know what this podcast is about, but you have been successful in what you do by curating and being in group settings and working with people. And I've, in my own way, done that, where it's like I've hosted shows that people wanted to come to week after week. Sure. I've worked with a lot of great comics, and our instincts and our judgment is something that got us to where we are.
Without a doubt.
And if we just kind of push forward with that mentality, people will hopefully be like, yeah, like I can put this on over the next 4 days and come in and out. You know, maybe we're not going to be talking about conspiracy stuff as much, but
the more we get into this right here, the more we got something.
The Nike
Nike flush. I completely agree, man. Just saying we're going to do this and do it, and then throwing the ego aside and trying to be as honest as we can, I think is cool in its own regard.
Yeah.
So even if it doesn't work out, or however you want to describe this being successful, I love that there's two people that care about what's going on in their life, and we're trying to get it out to the rest of, you know, our community, at least right now. So,
well, I think let's cut to the interview. We got our first Zoom interview with Barry Taylor.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. I wanted to learn a little bit more about Comedy Records anyways. Yeah. It's going to be cool.
So let's see what's up.
Barry, why don't you just let people know, like, first of all, a little bit of who you are and, you know, where you're at now.
Yeah. So I guess started Comedy Records in 2010. You and I actually you were one of the first people I talked to about it, and was definitely wanted to work with you right away. And we knew each other well enough then. Like, I was just starting out in comedy. You had started out a bit before me, but you were like killing it. Like, you were just winning every contest, getting every award. Like, you were well on your way. And then, yeah, the whole idea was I had worked in radio in Toronto, got let go, and then wanted to work in stand-up. So my idea was to take like the independent music label model and apply it to comedy. So just to make comedy albums to build shows and tours around. And that was kind of the idea. And yeah, just insanely just decided to do it and go for it. And yeah, still going now. So I don't perform. I haven't performed stand-up. I think the last set I did was I did the club in Hamilton, my hometown, in like I think it was like the April before in 2018, like before the pandemic. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I've hit my peak.
Do you think, I know it's weird because we know each other. I'm asking you like interview questions, but do you think about like doing stand-up every once in a while, or is that ship officially sailed?
Yeah, I don't really like the stuff I miss is like when I honestly not miss, but I would be open to again, like doing stuff like when we would do open mics and say it'd be like you and me and and there's no one in the crowd, but we're just making each other laugh and drinking beers. Like that stuff to me was that I wouldn't do it, but it's like, I'd be like, oh, that was fun. I like that. But the rest of it, no, I'm good.
That is the part that like people don't realize, obviously, because it's fun at the time, but it also sucks. But then you're like, that is what is the most missed thing, I guess, about just thinking about like not knowing what the hell was going on and hanging out at a room watching your friend bomb and talking in front of, like you said, nobody. Like those really were the best times. And then you know, it starts to become real and you're like, oh, this and that. And you're like, man, I just want to go back to like sitting in some shitty bar and, you know, because that. And so just to explain, when you started Comedy Records, nothing like that was happening in Canada, right?
No, yeah, no. And probably for good reason. Like it was just there was no market really, and there is no entertainment industry in Canada, never mind comedy industry, just an entertainment industry in general, but then comedy is even more niche. But I just really wanted to, you know, do shows and perform on shows with people that I liked and I also thought were funny, and then, you know, just wanted to have sort of a brand. I hate the word brand, but you know, like something behind it where you're just like, no, this is, each time you go, you'll know it's going to be these comics, they'll be funny. And then, yeah, it was just a whole like, you know, fake cachet thing to be able to reach out to different clubs or producers and be like, oh, we're from Comedy Records. And then, yeah, we do shows in that. And then it wasn't until like 3 years into the label that we actually found out that you can make real money through SiriusXM play. And that changed everything, like for good and bad. Like it was good because obviously there's money, like real revenue that could be made from the albums. But at the same time, I at first kind of panicked because I was like, I don't want to be taking this money from comedians. You know what I mean? I was like, so speaking with Tim, we just really had to figure out a business model that was fair for everyone, but also we offered something. And then that was when we started looking at America and working with the American channels on Sirius XM. And then that I felt like actually comfortable where I was like, okay, if we're giving these artist friendly deals, but we can also offer access to America, I was like, I think that's fair. And there's like, that's a business that's okay. And people will see value in, I guess.
Coming from the music world, you must have just were you aware that this didn't exist in comedy, or were you just like, yeah, this makes sense in the music industry, but why is there not anything like that in the comedy industry? Or was it something that you just kind of were like, oh, whatever, I'm bored, let's get it? Like, was there like that because you have the music background?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, no, that's a good point. I did. So what happened originally was I wanted to just put out one album with myself and 10 other comics that I really liked. You obviously were one of them. And we do this one album. And then that was the idea. It's like we'll build shows around this album and tour and that. And then so it's starting to research that and look into it. And I was like, where would I send this to get distributed? And there was nothing. Like there weren't even comedy albums. It's not like there wasn't a label. There weren't even albums. Like there was
Yeah.
nothing. So coming from the music industry, I was able to speak with one of my good friends, Joel Carrier, who runs Dine Alone Records. That's one of the biggest independent labels in music now. But yeah, I just went to him and I was like, hey man, this is kind of what I'm thinking. And he's just such a good dude. He's like, yeah, man, I'll put it out, whatever. Don't worry about it. And then I was just like, could I do more of this? Like, could I start my own thing? And like, yeah, go for it, man. Whatever. So
He's very laid back. He's like, yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
he's a he's a great man. Anyone that knows him, he's a very good dude. So anyway, so yeah, it was just that. And again, it was like total luck or naivety that it actually turned into something that can generate revenue from from Sirius XM play at the moment. But yeah, it was it was definitely it was just more out of necessity. It was like I want to figure out how to do this, and then just kind of did it.
It's just funny because like I remember when I started stand up, my loophole to get people, my friends never cared that I did stand up after the second year. They're like, Mark, we've seen you, whatever. So it was like my goal always at the time, like even before Common Records was a thing, was to every year on my birthday, I wanted to do a recording. And I remember I did some stuff with Tim, Ephemios, and like, because we had the same birthday. And I just remember hearing like, so when you started Comedy Records, obviously you want to be with like younger, fresh comics, but was there a lot of backlash from like older comics or the industry on releasing albums? Because when I was like a young comic, having merch or an album, I remember like these like old headliners would be like, oh, Mr. America here trying to
Yeah.
sell something. And it's just like, why was it was such a weird thing. Like it was not a promoted thing at all to be a Canadian comic that had a DVD or, an album. Like it was very like Americanized. And now it's like, you've obviously must have seen a shift from then to now that now everybody has more
Yeah.
albums than jokes, but it's like,
Yeah, absolutely.
but like, so that's, like you've seen that shift over time, obviously, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably, I'm sure it's been like this since the get-go, but yeah, it's, older comics always sort of look down on younger comics for whatever reason. And it's not, I mean, not all older comics, that's way too big a generalization. I would just say the bitter comics, the old, bitter, unsuccessful comics are just like, yeah, looking for someone to take out their bitterness on, I guess. But yeah, I remember, now that you mentioned that though, I do remember speaking to like a couple older comics, just like just genuinely talking to them about the idea. And they're like, I remember them saying, they're like, well, you're working with like a lot of newer, younger comics. And I was like, yeah, but I was like, but they're all going to be good. Like, I'm like, yeah, but they're all going to be
Yeah.
good. I'm like, I don't know, like what, yeah. And for the most part, not everyone, but like there was at least some close. You know what? Sorry, I was gonna say there's closeness in age, but there's not. There was a bit like Monty and Tim and I are of the older generation, but like we were all sort of at the same point comedy wise. You know what I mean? Like you guys were all
Yeah.
a couple years ahead of me, but it's like you were like 2 or 3 years in, and I was, like a year in. So it wasn't like a huge gap, right? But so yeah, there was anyway, that's a long-winded answer, but yeah, there was definitely some older comics being like, why are you working with all these new comics? And I was like, to me, I thought it just made sense because it's like working with like like a sports analogy, it's like all these young prospects where you're like, yeah, I'd way rather work with all these people that have so much potential as opposed to trying to work with established comics and then within their, parameters. So yeah.
No, and it totally makes sense. And like obviously over time, everyone's had to like evolve, and like over the years, Comedy Records has obviously evolved, changed, grown, adapted in the sense of like we used to do like college tours, where there still are like the college tours. But I remember like those are like memories that any of us will have forever, where we would go out east for like a couple weeks, and it was just an insane time. And over the years, like Comedy Records has started a crypto.
Yeah, yeah, we did. We tried. All right.
You got the crypto. Again, it being was it ha ha or ha ha ha? Like, was it
Yeah.
two or three? I can't remember.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is the thing is like always open to like trying new things, like always open to trying new things like that. And obviously when you try new things, some will crash and burn. And then
Just like a joke, right? It's just like
yeah,
you got to get out there
exactly.
and you got
Yeah.
to just bob and weave with it. And it's like it's just
Yeah.
funny because it like as someone interviewing more than someone who's on Comedy Records, it's like where do you see like the future of like in your mind, like the best case scenario, like where would as my wife says, what's your 5-year goal with Comedy
Right.
Records?
Yeah, I think we're definitely like I mean it's twofold. Like the SiriusXM royalty thing is great, but we're really trying to build the company out so we have far more revenue streams than that. Like we definitely don't want to rely on that just because I just don't it's I don't, it's not smart to rely on one revenue
Yeah.
stream of the business. So we're really focused on like the management side and building out the live show side because the management side allows for more flexibility, but also we're in a unique position where we can work in Canada and America, whereas other companies in Canada don't really have that flexibility. And and yeah, and also, but I and Tim, my business partner, sincerely believe in like everyone on our roster. Like I am positive everyone's gonna blow up, like you included. Like I know we've had these. I mean, obviously had these conversations, but like the one comic we have now, K. Trevor Wilson, was the first one out of the original sort of group that exploded, and he decided to stay with us. He could have left, but he didn't, and which is incredible. Like we owe him obviously, everything. But through that too, I will say I really believe we provided him with a good, like I think we're good at what we do in terms of management,
Yeah.
right? So but yeah, but I really think like everyone on roster, like you, Nick, Arthur, Claire, everyone's gonna blow up. So to me, I'm excited about that because it's just a whole new world and it allows us to do so many things you guys like obviously want to do stand-up, love producing stand-up shows that are awesome. And then, but there's a TV and film world, there's who fucking knows what's gonna come. Sorry, I swore. Who knows what's gonna come down? Gonna come down the road, right? But I mean, like, I just really love collaborating with everyone on our roster, and like anything we can do to help sort of provide any assistance to whatever ideas you guys have. Like, I love that stuff just because I don't know, I just really like working with you guys. I just think everyone's extremely funny, but also everyone on our roster is an extremely good person too, which is very important to us because
it's like a family restaurant, right? Where it's like you can't be weird because you got to work with each other or see each other, and it's just funny, like thinking about the list of stuff, like from the Comedy Records basketball team to the Comedy Records league, and then it's like there has been so much. It is in a way like a family where people love each other, hate each other, they fight, but it's always still at the end of the day, it's like it's grown so much and it's just expanding to like new levels all the time. And really, I don't know if there is to the same level something like that. Like people have obviously copied the model, and there are things like that in different fields, but it is a very close group of people at the end of the day, and it's like everyone's growing at their level, and there's different speeds and all that, and it's just going to be an exciting time in the future when, like, as I've said in the past on the podcast, when we're all kind of sitting around on different like late night talk shows talking about these West Coast, East Coast tours and all that stuff. But I think thank you for that. We had a good talk here. This is our first Zoom interview, and I'm happy that it was with you. It was a good time. As we said 13 years ago, it was funny thinking about when the initial Comedy Records started. I remember talking to you because I was listening to the Wu-Tang album, and there was that whole conversation about them forming like Voltron. And I remember being like, Barry, man, there's something here, and everyone just in one day, it's all gonna take over everything,
Yeah, absolutely, man. And just to like add to like that and exactly what you said, like it's like I don't know, we like it's not to keep repeating myself, but we really believe in everyone work. Like that was the one thing I did when I worked in radio. I had a lot of success in was I was able to so like pick bands and then before they brought and then bring them to the music meetings and they would blow up. But I don't whatever. Like I feel like for some reason I can just see stuff like that, and I know I see that with every single person we work with. Like I would literally bet my life on everyone on our roster blowing up, and but the thing to it, like the family aspect or whatever, it's like it's very much being a good person is equally important to me personally with the people we were with, because like I found out very quickly, like having opportunities for comedians, in particular paid opportunities, like those are like, here's my big analogy, those are like French fries, right? And then comedians are like seagulls, and you pull them out and it's like every fucking bird you can even think of is around
come
you.
flying out of the dumpsters.
It's like, good Lord. And then when the fries are gone, they're gone. And then just like, I'm out. So it's like, I want, I would much rather have my own personal Mike Tyson group of pigeons and feed them individually and be like, here, man, continually bring this coop food, and then you guys just do whatever the fuck you want in the meantime. You know what I mean?
And you know what? I don't think there's a better way to end this than a Mike Tyson pigeon reference. But that is truly it's such a funny thing to look at with, like, because that is what it is, right? Like I've always, in my analogy, looked at comedians like cockroaches or Vikings in the sense of like a bar where when you run a good show and then comics find out about it, they just ruin that whole venue, and then they move on to the next town to pillage, and that's kind of how they are. And through that disaster group of people, there are obviously a couple good ones, and it is a skill to kind of pick and see past all the pillaging to be like, hey, I want to work with this person, and at the end of the day, there are loyal comics out there and garbage comics for sure, and I think we got a good group here, and it's just going to keep doing its thing. But thank you for being not only the first Zoom member, but for Comedy Records and introducing comedy on a record level tours and everything to Canadian comics, you know. But yeah, thank you very much, Barry Taylor.
Thanks, buddy.
You know, I was just gonna say one day we should have like a band in the corner to open up the show, but I was like, wait a second, Dom can play music.
Dom could do the band. Dom will be in the corner. Have my cousin Dom plays the saxophone. He tells jokes. That'll be funny. Jesus.
That would be like, we just throw a piano over there while we're like setting up. You just start playing a bit, and then
hey, look, if it's paying, I'm playing.
That's it. I don't get out of. Do you guys have like a piano saying for you don't get out of bed for under?
No, but one time we called this drummer out of Rochester for a gig, and he goes, I don't really leave my house for less than $250. And then I see this video of him playing like down the street from his
Yeah.
I'm like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
And that's such a weird number, like $250.
Like, that's not even a lot anyways, bro. Like, what the hell's going on? Like,
he's trying to set standards, which is good,
yeah,
but
bar's not too,
no,
out here.
it's very reasonable.
You know what I mean?
He's
like,
a very reasonable
actually,
person.
I'm glad that you said that. Now I'm gonna call you for this gig.
Yeah, like $250. I got it. Oh man, what's been going on?
Oh, just plugging along here, trying to make every day worth it.
Every day count.
Every day count.
Live every day like it's your last.
Yeah, but also live every day one at a time.
Yeah, there's too many sayings about the day.
Yeah, right.
Weird conspiracy right off the top because that's what we love. Isn't it weird that calendars are squares? Like, you look at the idea of a clock and it's a circle, right? And then you have a calendar and it has squares. So do you think in a weird way that is like we're stuck in a box and the day comes full circle?
That's hilarious. I never thought about it like that before. I think that when it comes in terms of organizing things for the human brain, it's easy to see things linearly and in a line.
Sharp lines.
What's funny though is that a lot of people or professional organizers, whatever you want to call it, there's a lot of circle diagrams, there's a lot of Venn diagrams, there's a lot of things that are set up circular, right? But not exactly composing of time, not exactly like making up time. But if you were to see a calendar where like day 1, February 1st is a circle, or and then instead of going to the directly right of that circle, it kind of goes up, and then that's February 2nd, and then it goes up, and then it's forming like an arc.
Yeah.
And the rest of the days, like 30 days, are in a big circle.
It's weird, yeah, because you don't see that.
Do you think the world's flat?
You know what? I always have been trying to think of the number one trump card.
Let's go.
For
flat
the world
earthers
being flat, to
flat.
be like,
yeah.
If the world is flat, what is this? But no, there was one thing that I posted a while ago, and I guess somebody else kind of talked about it, but it was like completely me just trying to debunk the flat earth theory.
Okay.
And I think it was the idea of like...
So you're a round earther.
I am a normal person.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you.
Like, this is like a loaded thing, because first of all, what's the point of lying? Like, really, at the end of the day, if the earth is flat or round, what are you benefiting to say that you were right the whole time? Like,
pretty much. Yeah.
Like, what? Who cares? First of all, and second of all, like, I was thinking about. I think what I posted was like the idea that what does space look like? Earth is flat, and it's like a drum set. I think where I'm like, what is like Earth like a symbol? And then everything else is round?
Yeah,
like,
because look, what's true is true. The more you zoom out, it's a ball. I mean, we see pictures of the Earth from the moon, and it's clearly a round ball. Like,
look, there's a lot of weird things about space, okay? Like, I know we haven't seen the other side of the moon. I know that the pictures that they have shown of Earth apparently are debunked to be, like, kind of not real.
We're going to go into that next, because there's a bunch of moon shit that we're talking about here. I mean, as far as them it's a production, like the moon landing was just a really good production.
Yeah, this
like
is
all
classic.
This classic shit. Like who filmed it?
They say Stanley Kubrick.
But like, if it was real, like that's the whole myth.
Like if
they were there, how is the camera filmed? They say Stanley Kubrick. Yes, exactly.
They said that we have more technology in our cell phone now than the spaceship had that went to the moon.
I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly believe that. Like maybe the metal was thicker, but that's about it.
I just don't understand what you're gaining at the end of the day if the world is flat or not.
There's got to be a list of things that have to do with like religious facts or like how.
Is it a religious thing?
I don't know, but I guarantee you someone's tying that into something. Scientology or some shit. Like that theory exists. Someone that's like. The Earth is flat is also like, well, also it's only 3,000 years old. Or have you seen the Book of Genesis? Like, shit like that. They're dropping some type of thing there. There's some correlation. Like,
well, I was talking with my friend today actually because this is what we talk about on the phone for whatever reason, and the idea of Adam and Eve has always been weird to me, right? Because first of all, I think I've even told you like the whole idea of the chicken and the egg. You have the oldest book, apparently the Bible, and you have Adam and Eve, and there's a snake. So wouldn't the original thing be what came first, the snake or the egg? Because snakes come from eggs. Well, and in the Bible, in Adam and Eve, there's a snake.
I love this. The snake is the devil. So the snake. Right. So was the devil hatched? Is the question, or did it just
what
appear?
Came first,
right,
the snake or the egg?
The snake or the egg is so good, dude. The Christians are rolling in their grave right now. It's so funny because Eve is the rib.
Well,
right.
This is what it comes down to. Adam and Eve. To me, I think it makes the way I look at it is atom, ATOM, and evolution.
Oh,
this is like my longtime conspiracy where
matter and atoms. And
I think that because you think about the idea of Adam and Eve, and it's like you just have these two.
Oh, it's an acid trip. It doesn't make the Book of Genesis doesn't make any fucking sense.
But in the sense of atoms are what make matter or whatever it is, and Eve as an evolution, that now is like makes way more sense to me.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's like a deep thought.
That's a heady metaphor.
I have that thought a lot.
Heady metaphors with Mark DeBonis. We'll be right back. That's incredible, dude.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that.
Because it's impossible. Like ancient aliens, all this stuff. It's impossible. This is not going to be a conspiracy episode.
I was just going to say.
We'll move on. But there's no way we're at the peak of technology right now. And I believe that what we're probably, because first of all, are we even in the digital age? You have the Bronze Age, the Stone Age, or whatever it is. I don't know if we've even officially been classified as the digital age. Like that's where we're going for sure.
Yeah, like what does that mean though? Like I can think about being somewhere and I'm there. Is that the digital age?
Like I don't even know what classifies the Bronze Age as the Bronze Age.
It has to be the statues.
There has to be something to do with bronze.
Yeah, all that metal work.
But what I think is going to probably happen is, or what has happened in the past, and this is literally what me and my friend were talking about on the phone this morning, is that there will, like in the past, they were way ahead of us. That's why when I think about atoms and evolution, it was like a metaphor of a story that makes sense because and it's whatever. But they were way ahead of us, and there was a crash of energy, like a full-on breakdown. And if you think about the idea now that everything is on the cloud, what happens if there's a massive power outage and we lose the cloud?
About that, yeah.
We're literally now technically Stone Age again.
Yeah.
And then over time, all this shit's going to disappear, and all we have are stories and graffiti,
Jesus. All I can think about while you're talking about this is how much we're not getting laid right now in our life. And it's really funny because I'm generally very interested in what you're talking about, and I know you're interested because you know a lot about this, and I ask you about we talk about this
this is definitely a late night conversation.
What's real is we need some, and we could bleep it out, but some pussy. Dude, this is fucking
there needs
crazy.
to be a balance for sure. Well, I had a weird situation actually yesterday happen that I wanted to kind of touch on here where I ordered Indian food yesterday when we were supposed to meet up. Okay. And I'm on the phone, and I'm ordering, the whatever I order, and the lady was like, "Do you want the garlic naan or do you want garlic naan?" And I said, "Non-garlic." And then she's like,
"Oh, you motherfucker, dude!"
And she's like, "Okay, so the garlic naan," and I'm like, "Non-garlic."
You fucked her up, dude.
And she's like, and this honestly went on for like,
this is your pepperoni cheese slice shit.
I know, because at the time, it didn't even cross my mind what was happening.
You yodered her. That's what you did. You yodered your Indian order, dude.
Because she was like, "Okay, I got the aloo gobi, whatever, and then the naan bread, but I wanted non-garlic naan bread." So then when I kept saying non-garlic, she was like, "Okay, so you want the garlic naan?" And I'm like, "Non-garlic." And she's like, "Yeah, okay, I can hear you." And I'm like, "No." And then I realized,
yeah, bro, you're fucking her up right now.
I realized
her mind is exploding.
And I'm like, "Okay, I know what's happening right now." And she's like, and she didn't really respond to that. And I was like, "I want the order with no garlic on the bread." And she's like, "So you want the non-garlic?" And I'm like, "What?" Like, now I'm confused because I'm like, "Are you saying no?" And then when I went to pick it up, when I was talking on the phone, she was like, "Did you want garlic or not?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Okay, we gave you no garlic."
There we go.
And I'm like, this was the most confusing situation because I didn't realize I don't know if obviously.
Nope, non-garlic.
Yeah,
that's hilarious, dude.
It was an insane, like.
That's the leaf grape that you want. Grape leaves. Look at that is in so many different ways. We're talking about a language barrier here. You know what I mean?
Oh, it is. But I don't even know if that's a language barrier because it's a.
No, it's almost like it worked the opposite way around.
And
you know what I mean?
and that's what I'm saying, because do you know that whole thing about who's on first, or that whole like old like vaudeville sketch?
Yes, yeah.
That's what I felt like it was, where it was like who's on, because the guy's name was Who, I think, and they're like, who's on first?
Yeah.
And then this is what me and this lady had. We had a whole act together with the garlic non-garlic, and
that's
then,
hilarious. I love that.
But it's funny we were talking about all this old stuff though, because I was kind of mentioning to you, I think before, the idea about like wisdom teeth, and when I'm starting to get sick, I feel like my wisdom teeth hurt. Do you have wisdom teeth?
No, every one of my wisdom teeth are out of my mouth. They've all been taken out.
You
all
removed
four
them.
have been removed.
Oh wow!
This is actually, it's funny that you even brought this up. We say that shit all the time, but you remind me of some certain things, and I don't know if this is if I'm leading you astray on a tangent. But getting my wisdom teeth out opened up a world of new experience for me in the craziest way. I discovered drugs from this. Like, this started
from your wisdom teeth.
Getting my wisdom teeth taken out. So the correlation of being wise, the opposite happened to me when I got my wisdom teeth removed.
Your eyes were open.
My eyes were Pandora's box. Yeah, exactly. Anytime anyone mentions wisdom teeth, I go immediately right back to being like, ooh, hydrocodone and smoking my bong. Like, just like the most ridiculous combination.
So when you got your wisdom teeth out,
it was such a surreal experience. It was the first time in my life that I had been put under, like cognizantly, like knowing that I was gonna, like, a doctor's like, okay, now you're gonna feel a little funny and you're gonna go to sleep. That mixed with like 2 weeks of heavy sedation with painkillers and like being home during school, and like also that time was like, it was the age in which we were really, all of us were into weed, so we're sneaking weed around the house, and I'm like trying to figure out ways to get high while I have literal 4 holes in my mouth. Like, it's just a very, very specific time. For every time I think about it, I get that feeling of like the nostalgia feeling of like my mouth hurts, but I'm fucking wrecked at my mom's house watching The Price is Right, school time TV. Like, it was amazing and terrifying all at the same time.
And that's what led you to
drugs. That first instance of getting my wisdom teeth taken out, I had a friend at the time who knew a lot about chemistry, which is funny, but we all kind of have one of those, either we hung far away from those kids back in the day, or we had a couple that were too close. And I had a friend that was really close. He knew a lot about how 2 different drugs would react in your body. He did a lot of research on it, which is silly at that age, and I know a little bit about it. It's called synergy, and what happens is when two different substances are taken in, they react with their receptors in the body, but they create a synergistic effect depending on what two drugs are. And it just so happens when you take some painkillers of the opiate class and mix them in the rays of metabolism that weed does to you when you smoke it, you get this wild synergistic effect.
So it's weed in this pill.
It's weed and an opiate. Some type of opiate. And I remember this was the first form of my experimentation of drugs back in the day. This is hilarious. I'm so sorry, Mom and Dad, because we were all in the same house at this time. But what we would do is my dad would probably be at work at the restaurant or something, and my mom would be teaching, and I'd be home alone all day. So one of my buddies would either play hooky or leave school early and come to my crib. It would be known that someone had a prescription for some type of painkiller. We would indulge, and then we would smoke out of my bong, right? And I was known for having this. I had a king size Zong bong in high school that I nicknamed Terry Schiavo. Because when you smoked it, you turned into a vegetable. Anyways, so now we would take a couple painkillers, smack Terry Schiavo around a little bit, and then we'd go to my front porch and play this game called Cars.
Cars.
Sorry, this is so ridiculous. Where you'd pick a number, and whatever number a car would drive. So my number is 3. 1 car drives by. 2 cars go drive. The third car is the car I'm gonna get when I have enough money to get the car. Just like some shithead dream, pipe dream you have. Literally. But what's the most fucked up part about the story? It was the most fun. Yeah, you're on a porch with a friend who's just as fucked up as you, going 4. You're all like so stoked to see this number 4 Subaru Outback, and you're like, you bitch, you got the Outback.
You know, that is like the definition of like simple times.
I can't think of a time I was probably happier after that point in my life. Do you know what I'm saying? All the problems started after that.
What was the highest number you guys went to?
Oh, that would be like the funny part of the game, right? Where you'd get like 2, 4, like 6 maybe, and then all of a sudden someone would go 38, and you'd be like, oh god, dude, he's sitting there for like an hour to the 38th car. Like,
did you ever lose count and have to?
Yeah, of course, Mark. Someone ended up falling asleep most of the time, nodding out before we could count to 9. You know, like classic.
Yeah, you had a way different wisdom tooth story than what me feeling like I'm getting sick.
How much pudding did your mom make?
I still have my wisdom teeth.
All of them?
Yeah.
Really? You've never had problems from it?
No, so they hurt every once in a while.
Okay.
And they're for sure growing in. And I remember going through some serious pain, but I'm like, whatever, because my mouth just got shifted around because I have, one of them is for sure out. Like, it's just there now.
It's doing its own thing.
It's like in the, I don't know what side it is, and I've been to the dentist and they didn't say that there was no nerves or, because I know that's a problem, is like if a nerve wraps around it. Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on?
I had no problem, but then I started thinking, because I had some, before I moved to Los Angeles, I'm like, okay, I got to go get myself put together before I leave the country. Yeah. And I remember I went to the dentist and I had some cavities or whatever that had to be filled. And it was probably the most traumatic mouth experience I've had in a long time. And I'm not joking. I feel like by the end, my wisdom tooth grew in. And I thought about it, and I was like, if you think about the idea of our body, this is like a very heady episode, no pun intended to the tooth. But if you think about it, it's like, what happens if that's kind of what the wisdom tooth was, where like a long time ago, some barbarian bit something, broke a tooth, and then they have these extra teeth that now grow in.
Yeah, like it's an evolutionary trait. Yeah, like
it's something that we have 4 stock teeth just waiting.
I feel like it has a lot to do with how rough the food used to be, like how it's non-processed, or we needed more teeth to get through it. Like,
yeah, it's definitely possible, because I felt like going through a traumatic mouth experience triggered my wisdom teeth to grow in.
Let me tell you, first of all, getting stuff, I hate the dentist. I hate mouth surgery. All that shit is the worst. And you know what? Now that we're thinking about it, I had my first 2 bottom wisdom teeth taken out in high school. What happened is in the first year of college, it was the first semester, I ended up coming down with a crazy cold or sickness. And I'm feeling on the roof of, this is nasty, but on the roof of my mouth were these like lumps, and they were warm.
So there were.
I could feel like with my tongue that they were warm. I remember one night I had this headache. I'm in my dorm room. I'm literally tripping balls. I got like 2 roommates next to me. I'm like, you guys, I am tripping, and I didn't take any drugs. Like something fucking is going on. I got a crazy headache. They're like, dude, let's get you to the nurse or whatever. I ended up going to the nurse. This nurse is tongue depressing these things on the roof of my, she's like, honey, you have an infection. This is insane. I don't know what the fuck this is. Your wisdom teeth look a little, it's all red back here. Like you need to go home. I'm 9 hours away in New York City. You know, I take next day, I find a flight, get all my shit together. I go home, go to the doctor, and he's like, yeah, you have a severe infection on the roof of your mouth, and it's because your wisdom teeth are impacted, like literally. He goes, you're like, who knows, a week away from this getting to your brain. This could have been a very serious situation. Those headaches turn into like seizures and shit.
Yeah,
and people literally just,
because that's what I heard happens with, like, if you have like a problem.
I remember going home. Oh, this is crazy, but the second they take those 2 teeth out, it was like, it looked like an exorcism in that goddamn in that dentist room. It felt so good. It was incredible. All this pressure had gotten released from my face, literally.
That's insane.
So it's an insane thing. Like a lot of I like to say that dentists are straight bullshit because they cost so much money, but there are certain things that literally you just don't know about, which, you know, you have to get taken care of.
It's a hard thing, right? Because, you know, you look at all these old skulls that they find and their teeth were all fine.
Yeah.
You know, they all
like better looking than some of our shit.
It's
crazy.
Clearly like everything, you know, I don't even want to get into more of the stuff me and my friend were talking about on the phone because there's more about it. But I feel that like with my wisdom teeth, I know if I'm like, this is what I was saying about when they hurt. It's like, it's weird because I feel like they start to hurt when my body's not at 100%.
Yeah, there's some type of inflammation going on or whatever.
And it goes away, and I'm like, oh, why is this kind of like, I feel it, and I'm not supposed to feel it.
Yep.
And then that's when I kind of like lock down on like, you know, maybe take a Tylenol.
It's funny, the human body's wild because I
know how to read it.
That right? And the sooner you become a little bit more in tune with yourselves and the things your body tells you. I remember being younger, being like, I don't know when or why I'm sick or even what it is. I just automatically feel like shit or whatever. As I'm getting older, I can tell like 3 days before I'm gonna get sick, my back hurts. Something in my neck, something's not right. I'm not sleeping right. I get it. Remember that? It was 2 weeks ago. I'm like, Mark, I got a kink in my neck.
Yeah.
2 days later, I'm like, dude, I cannot come and hang. I'm sick. This isn't gonna work.
That was when I knew you were sick before you knew you were sick.
It's crazy. You're like something in his eyes. It's like the Parasite movie or some shit.
No, I could hear the voice. The voice is like the #1 sign for me. Like, I know that if I've never met you, I don't know your voice, but I know a voice that's sick compared to like a nasally talk, you know?
Sure.
And, well, to talk, I guess, about this whole reading the body stuff, like this is what I said I didn't want to talk about, but this was the last thing I'll say where, you know, during the whole lockdown, I fell into trying to learn how to code and program.
Dude, and when's the last time you saw Amanda, dude?
I know. I know.
This is crazy.
I'm really losing my mind.
What the fuck?
So
dude? I'm over here being like, really? You were coding? What were you coding?
I was hacking into the mainframe.
Fuck.
No, I was learning how to do it, and I realized how important words are. As stupid as this sounds, where if you're trying to put that in the middle of the screen, everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if it's not going to move from the top left corner.
Yeah.
And I thought about that, and I'm like, you know, the whole AI, you know, people think we live in a simulation. I'm like, programming and coding, it is a language,
if
obviously.
Someone's good at it, like really good, there are people that are really good at it.
But it started to make me think, and this might actually be something that you can not relate to, but you would understand, where I believe that there are chants in a series of words or notes or music that if they're all said together, shit starts happening. Because I believe that we don't know anything about our body, and our mind is so powerful, and you can't control, like, this is literally what I was saying to my friend. What's the difference from you to Jeff Bezos? Nothing.
It's just your levels, how the levels of stress in your life affect the way you act.
But at the end of the
it's like
day,
the prefrontal cortex shit is what I mean. Emotions, right? Like,
and at the end of the day, he's a human just like you are.
yeah.
But for all we know, he's on some sort of like ancient diet that opens up some
Portal,
stuff.
yeah.
And it's like all the food, fast food, sugar, all this garbage that we eat. Who's to say that that's not there to like keep
us down, keep us down.
This power that we have in our body, and it's like
all of it, the phone, the whole all the shit.
Everything we do is like. I'm not getting into like third eye.
Oh, you are. We're almost there.
That's where it is. But I do believe that at one point a long time ago, I don't think we were flying around with like superpowers, but I think that our mind was so much more powerful. And then whoever's in charge knew that this sugar and garbage,
high fructose corn syrup,
and all that stuff can keep us
Monsanto,
which
the
will
farming,
eventually end up in control. So this is definitely going on the end of the episode.
Let's talk about something fun, dude.
So okay, what we're gonna do? This is I think like I'm tired today.
I know,
and I'm like going on like
I'm like staring at you, trying to like bounce it off like in a positive way, and I'm like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, this one went high level conspiracy. We had the non-bread though.
The non-bread's great. I'm gonna show you videos of pilots saying that the Earth is flat.
yeah. Oh yeah, I think
shit
that's
fucks me up, dude.
I think that's what sent me off was the flat Earth. I'm like, oh, we're going here. Okay, here we go. But no, I have a funny. I don't even know if it's funny. This is an old thing that I did where, so in my stand-up I used to do, and this is pre-Shark Tank, Dragon's Den, all that stuff.
Okay.
I used to, in my stand-up act, pitch inventions.
I love that.
So I actually
think I saw one of those. I think I saw one of those.
In that one clip, I had a couple inventions that almost all of them have now come to life.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm not even joking. There was one... So there was actually a one-man show that I was pitching to Fringe Fest.
Okay.
Where I was like a Tony Robbins, Steve Jobs type of guy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And in my stand-up set, I have this joke about a Bluetooth glove where you talk on the phone like this.
Okay, that's one of my favorite ones, just because it would look cool to do this.
And I'm like, this is it. Like... And that is a thing now.
No way.
I'm not even joking.
The actual glove?
The glove. The Bluetooth glove exists.
Get the fuck out of here.
And I'm telling you, I'm pretty confident that that was trademarked after my set aired. Okay? Yeah.
They're real.
It came out after my set.
Phone glove with Bluetooth.
Yeah, and you
Sharper Image has it.
Sharper Image, that's the one. I have like 5 of them. You know how many people bought those for me when it came out?
You have one?
I have multiple. I can put them on all my hands. I guess I have 2 hands.
Put them on every one of your hands. Dude, that's crazy. I can't believe that.
That came out and people...
Of course I can believe it. It's not even that crazy, actually, if you really think about it. It's very simple, actually.
It's very simple. There were the other one from that set was snowblower shoes. where you walk and blow the thing, and
that is not real.
It's out.
You're bullshitting,
I'm
dude.
not joking. People have made Crocs
Shut up. With maybe plows on them, not blowers.
I've seen the plows, and I think one guy I saw had little blowers on them.
Shut the fuck up.
And
snow blower.
I'm telling you.
All right, there's like ideas for it, but or like, okay, here are the plow Crocs. These are terrible. Dude, this is insane. Yep. Here we go. Yep. Elite Will, Universal Snowblower skids for shoes. What the
This is... You got to understand.
Dude, holy crap.
I was doing that joke in like 2009, 2010, and it was online. And...
They're called skid shoes, yeah.
I didn't even know.
You shuffle your feet and they blow the snow.
That was exactly the joke.
What the fuck?
So...
That's unreal, dude.
And there was another one. This one was more basic, where it was like, I don't even know what it was. I think it was a T-shirt with hook. I don't even remember. It had like hooks, so when you lift your shirt, when you lift your arms.
No, lift your arms. Your shirt wouldn't come out of your jeans.
Yeah, it had something to do with hooks.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then someone sent that to me. Some like weird company like literally came out with like a strap, and I was like, look, I don't know if they They saw it. It was the internet. It's possible that they saw it.
You think they have a team that like looks for shit like that, scour the internet for weird shit? Like,
When I did the laugh off set, that set, you know, didn't go viral, but it got probably more views than anything I had at that time. And it's all of those inventions have come to life. So I was working on a one-man show, never ended up doing anything, but I started making these like prototype images, and that's what brings us to this. I'm gonna get up here and show you.
okay. Show it off, dude.
This one.
Dude, this is hilarious. The Nike flush.
Now it's in the bag. So,
Yo, toilet paper stash. Groove to raise the seat with a shoe. Did you make this?
Yeah.
Hand sanitizer laces. That was a stretch. That was that last thing you thought of.
I think that was for sure.
Yep. Suction cup to open doors without a hand.
This was a prototype I had.
You're such a germaphobe, dude.
And I was like, so it has the air freshener button there, and then this is where the air freshener comes out of the hole on the bottom. The toilet paper stash pocket. The hand sanitizer laces, it might not be a stretch though, because like when you pull it, it could like lube up a bit.
Dude, these aren't Dunks. These are Dukes. These are Nike Dukes. This is wild, bro.
This is the groove to raise the toilet, and that's to open up the door. I was like, this is genius.
The Nike flush is hilarious.
I know. I made this whole thing like
It's like the swoosh, the flush. Hand sanitizing laces. That's
okay. That one we made.
just
that,
like a hope.
We'll
That's
workshop
like,
that.
We got to workshop. The suction cup, very doable. Groove, very doable. Air freshener button, very doable. There's a pump. We're definitely pumping fresher air in there. The vent. You know, it'd be great if you stepped in dog shit with one of these.
These are made to step in dog shit.
You know what I'm saying? Like, actually, I think the opposite. They're
first
made to go into a bathroom,
yeah,
right?
the first restroom friendly shoe.
Fuck, dude. This is hilarious, bro.
Are you telling me that you can't see that this being a thing, like as like a one time?
Do you know what I see this being? Like, they make 100 of them. They cost $1,000 a pair,
and that's it.
They're very rare. And like all of a sudden, you know, 30 years from now, some kid who is our age walks into like a crazy futuristic Nike store and is like just slides over the box, and the kid's like, "What?" And he's just like, "Open it," and he sees it and he goes, "The flushes?
The Nike?
No one has ever brought the flushes to the store, dude. I don't even know how I would price these." Like,
do you know that I thought I was gonna post this during COVID and it was over? Literally, 0 people saw it, liked it, cared about it. But that was these are one of my many prototype inventions.
I like that you reminisced it after the 4s. You don't even know what the 4s are.
I have no clue. I just literally put like Nike shoe.
It's hilarious.
Those are like the Air Force Ones, aren't they?
No. Nope. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you the shoe you made.
Yeah, show me the
hilarious.
The inspiration.
This is the Jordan 4.
Oh yeah, that's very similar. Is that the same one though?
It's I mean, it's literally it's sort of it. Like, it has this lift off in here.
Yeah.
The only thing you didn't put is those little check mark boxes, which are just these, really.
Yeah.
But that's like, you know, you're making a prototype for the 4 flush, Nike 4 flush.
The Nike flushes.
Dude, I love it. I'm so happy you took the time to set up a HDMI cord for this. It's incredible.
Well, now we know that we can post stuff here.